That's what I'm talk about today. Uh, so this past week, I had the opportunity of celebrating my 59th birthday. Uh, Never thought I'd get here. I'm going to be honest with you. Never thought I'd get here. But now that I'm here, I don't can't say I don't have my worries, right? Because as a man in transition, a man that is in transition in his life, man trying to be at a different level, it's three things that really come into play at this time for me and most men who are really running my age group. Someone therefore, I like to say between 40 and the 40s and the 60s, right? Uh, and probably even the 60s, they're probably coming to another idea. I know I do because for me, as I approach 60, I realize even more that time is not my friend. And I have more time behind me than I got in front of me. And that's a real fact. So obviously at this point, the pursuits and the chase of life that I had before are not as important to me as things are now, as far as love, laughter, and just being around people who I believe care about me and I care about them. The pursuits of material situations aren't as prevalent or a priority as they probably once were. And that probably happens for a lot of men, right? Um, so as I began to start talking to men in the age group of 35 up, I wanted us to kind of start looking at some things a little different. And if I can catch these brothers who are actually at 35 and coming up, maybe they can have the head start that a lot of us who are in my age group right now didn't realize, right? And so this is me trying to pay it forward, reaching back and trying to touch some of my more energetic, youthful brothers and even some of us who are actually in the bounds of in the throes of really making some transitions, especially when you start getting around 40, 42, 43, between 40 and 45, right? So let's look at a couple of things, three things, right? We're going to talk about physical health, mental health, and our social health, right? These three things, right? Now, for me, there's a couple of things that's combined to that, but I'm going to start there, right? Because if you checked out this Get Made podcast over the various months, you see that I have a thing that I deal with a wellness wheel. That's spiritual, person's spiritual health, their intellectual health, their mental and emotional health, their physical and their social health, right? So I know I've talked about this in many episodes before, and of course about being grounded, right? What that grounded masculinity looks like, right? So I'm just going to look at three aspects of things today. And I hope you guys, and some of you sisters who are checking this out, being able to even convey this message to your men in your family, your husbands, fathers, brothers, cousins, close uncles, whatever, right? You can kind of convey this to your loved ones and hopefully they can start doing something about it. So we start looking at our physical health. A lot of times what we take for granted is the idea that I'm gonna be around for a while. There's this thing in masculinity though about being invincible, that nothing takes me down. I can keep it moving. I can suck it up. I can keep it running because that's the stuff that we've been told, right? That's the stuff that's been inbred in us, that's been ingrained in us, that's been some of the more toxic understanding of masculinity comes from this doctrination of sucking it up, being ironclad, and being invincible. So if I'll get sick, if I hurt, I don't really hurt. I've pushed through it. We celebrate men on the athletic fields of football or basketball or whatever the sports that they come out there, play hurt, and they try to give it their all while they're playing hurt. We say they got guts, right? We give them names like guts, fortitude, and testicular fortitude, and all these type of things there that makes men look at things from a position of just being hard, right? Being unbreakable and not being in a position of having some vulnerability. So one of the places we take for granted is our health. So a lot of us, we don't eat right, we don't eat properly, we don't exercise, we we're out chasing money, we're out here doing other things, right? So we don't eat well, we don't sleep properly, we take on vices such as smoking and drinking and all other type of vices that doesn't do the body well. We overeat. I know I've done that. You know what I mean? And that's been my one nemesis, is that eating thing, man. Because I love me some food, right? And so, it's one of those things where I feel like I can eat anything. And but yeah, I probably could eat anything in my 20s, right? But as I gotten older, that metabolism started slowing up because it wasn't doing much to kind of speed it up, right? And so if we're not exercising and we're not doing things that kind of help ourselves out, we're not going to get checkups. A lot of us are scared to go to the doctor because we feel like the doctor's going to put us on some type of pharmaceuticals, some type of medicines, and they're just going to start over prescribing medicines. I know even in my last episode of something that's I was kind of retaining water, right? Fluids. And so my doctor, and I got a team of doctors, and it's like they weren't even talking to each other. I had one physician, I had a high blood pressure pill with a diuretic in it. My nephrologist gave me another medication with a diuretic in it. And then my primary care doctor gave me a diuretic, right? Just a straight out diuretic, and gave me this little potassium pill to go with it, right? Well, what happened to me is that all this fluid kept rushing off of me, and I couldn't drink enough to keep it in me. I couldn't, it was just fun. And so what happened is that it felt like under my skin, right? It's like I had 1,000 little paper cuts. That's what it feels like. 1,000 little paper cuts just all up and down my lats and in my back and going down my legs and doing it. And what it was, I was losing a lot of potassium. I was losing a lot of fluids. And I couldn't keep it up. So this has been a couple of weeks, and I've stopped taking one of them. I just naturally stopped taking it. Some people say that was crazy. Well, I'm going back to my doctor, and he and I are going to have a conversation in about a week. But until then, I stopped taking this one medication, right? And because I wasn't having that problem before this medication, right? So there's this natural fear of going to the doctor because they're going to overprescribe medication. Well, they may, and you have to pay attention to your body, right? And then you have to find natural remedies that can help you out. But those natural remedies are only going to help if you are in a condition that isn't beyond the point. Because if you are beyond the point, I am going to say, even though I may have stopped taking that, I had to stop taking the rest of my medication, right? And so I want you guys to know that that was a decision that I made, and then I'm going to consult back with my physician, in order so we can tweak this thing, because I know I'm in a pretty, you know, I'm not in the best state of dealing with this particular issue. So I have to do something to help correct it. But in the process, I'm also trying to learn what are some natural things. And we say natural, but part of our problem when we start dealing with health situations, we don't stay consistent with it. We think, oh, we okay right now, then I don't have to keep doing it. No, this is a lifelong commitment, right? And we're not committed to doing the things that we need to do to sustain our life, right? And I had a friend who, recently moved out the country, and he's a little older. He's definitely older than I am. But it's like his whole life has changed, his whole lifestyle changed. He had an injury that took place, and where he went to, where he was, it was kind of messed up. He couldn't get right. But where he went to, they helped to get right, and he had a lifestyle change. Dude's like less stressful. He likes less stress. I even talked to him when I talked to him. And I'm going to tell y'all who he is, but when I talk to him, I even hear it in his voice, the less stress that he has, the lack of stress. Because I used to hear him when he was here, and he'd be very stressed. His voice was very stressed. And I hear how he's have a whole new paradigm, right? And it's like he probably been given like 10, 15 years tacked onto his life as far as some decent health, just because of the change. He had already made changes before he left, but then those extra changes, is beautiful. We can't wait till we get in our advanced age to start trying to do this. But we can't not do it, even though we may be in advanced age, right? We may be in what is considered senior stages, right? We cannot then say, well, I'm at this age now. I'm just going to I'm just going to live. I ain't going to worry about it. Oh, no, that's irresponsible. That's being irresponsible. You are still accountable for the life that you have, and to maintain that life and to do right by that life. This was a gift given to you. And if we messed it up earlier, we can do something different about it now. So it's never too late. It's never too late. So I am definitely saying to some of my brothers, all my brothers, to make sure that you have a regular, regimented schedule of seeing your physician. And, probably starving off trying to see the physician that much, get some exercise, get some rest, watch what you're eating, start intaking fluids other than foolishness, right? And I'm not here to judge. I'm just going to keep it 100. Some of us drink. Some of us drink things that we probably got no business drinking, such as alcohol, sodas, or all type of things, because alcohol is not the only problem. But some of us overindulge in some of these things, right? So we have to do it. I ain't going to tell you no lie. I probably ain't the most advocate person of water, because I need to drink more of it myself. But I have started drinking it a lot more. And I can see the difference when I do drink it. I won't lie to you. My whole system responds to me differently when I've had a adequate intake of water. And so I have to force myself to go drink it. I got a little thermal thing that I drink, and to get the top one, I can pick the top back, and I fill that thing on ice and fill that thing with water at least 2 or 3 times a day. And I can see how it changes when I do it and when I don't do it. I can see how my GI tract is different. We're going to have real conversations, because we don't have these conversations enough, especially as Black men in general, but especially Black men specifically. We don't have these conversations enough. And I'm just going to be, I believe I am a man, and I believe I am a Black man. So I think I'm qualified to have this conversation with my brothers. And so I want to make sure that we are trying to do some things because we got grandkids. We want to have great grandkids. Our women outlive us. You know, 10, 20 years more. Now, you know what? Why they got to be in a position to outlive us? Because they're taking care of themselves more than we take care of ourselves. So I want us to have that conversation. But next in line, so I gave a thought about how to do something on a physical level, making sure you have your doctor regimen, your regimented doctor's visits, your physicals, and also getting in there, doing some working out, getting in the gym, or walking up and down the street, or getting some time in, getting some rest. Getting an adequate amount of rest. And try to be in these positions where you are not just over. I talked about on the Friday Frenzy. I talked about balance and congruency, and there's a difference, right? And we have to have a adequate work-life balance. It can't be all work and no rest, all work and no family, all rest and play and no work and no family. We have to have this thing balanced out, right? And when we start talking about some congruency and having that inner thing align with us and being consistent, because the incongruency is about the inner stuff that you got, the alignment within your values and your morals and your standards and your behavior. All that starts on the inside. And so being able to do these things, right? Being able to make these type of tweaks and these adjustments allow us to be in better situations. We ain't dying from this, heart disease, and the overindulgence of diabetes and type 2 diabetes, and all these type of things here that normally plagues us based upon our lifestyle habits and our eating habits. And so we want to make sure that we have this understanding. Secondly, I really can't emphasize enough the understanding of mental health. And this is something probably more than going to a doctor for physical health. We definitely don't go anywhere for mental health, getting a mental checkup. We'll check on our cars more than we'll check on our brain and our inner self. We'll check on our cars. We'll shine our shoes a lot more than we'll polish up our own mental health. And that got to be something that is just totally baffling. But we do it on a consistent basis. And this is something that we can't be ashamed of. We can't be ashamed of getting somebody, if you're talking to an accountability partner, you're talking to a coach, talking to a therapist, or whatever is going to be your professional help that you look for. How to be able to do this, because here's what happens. When we're doing this and we combine this with some of our physical health, I want to make some connections here. When we do this and then we combine this with our physical health, what happens is a lot of times we have some onset Alzheimer's or onset dementia, some different things, the depression and the anxiety, all these type of things start taking place, and we're doing nothing about it. And I can go back now looking at some of my younger years and seeing some of the people, some of the men in my family and some of the people that I had known during that time and who I knew at that time, or however you want to put this thing grammatically, right? I see some of the things that, man, that dude was stressed the hell out. I look at some of that like, God, man, how the hell he make it? This dude was, and how he was doing, he had coping mechanisms like weed, cocaine, beer, liquor, all these type of things here, right? That's how he was coping. Promiscuous activity, got a woman at home and got all these other women on the side that he's dealing with. All that's from a mental space. All that because he wasn't comfortable with his own self in his own head. And so he was trying to get that stuff, or they were trying to get that stuff out by these outside external influences, the external cause, and not dealing with their own stuff internally. And I want some of you to look at yourself right at this moment. Pay attention to yourself. How many of you are still exhibiting that same behavior? And this is a little personal today. This conversation is a little personal today. Tell you, I just turned 59. I worry about myself, but I also worry about my brothers. So this conversation is a little bit more personal. And so then the feeling and the emotion of it is a lot more personal. So I just want everybody to understand the space that I'm coming from today. And so when you start looking at somebody who's doing all these things, he's coping this way, he's coping that way, he's out here doing these things that really wreck his body because his mind ain't together. He's not coping with himself mentally. He's not dealing with those things. It ain't always about dealing about something that happened in your childhood or whatever. You can be dealing with what's going on right now. You ain't always got to be digging into your childhood, man. Some people say, my past is my past. It is what it is. I'm gonna keep it pushing. But what you keeping it pushing from today can still be a hindrance for you. So I want you to look at this situation from that point of view. If you don't want nobody digging into your head, and trying to play with you, or if you don't believe in therapy, or you don't believe in that, let me be honest with you. You need somebody outside of yourself. Because here's what I know. If one of you brothers, whose child had an issue that they needed to go to the doctor, you would hurry up and put that child in the car, and you would drive that child to the hospital as quickly as you possibly can. You would break all type of speed limits. You would break all type of whatever it is to get you to that hospital, so you can do something that can save your child. But you won't do that for yourself. You won't give that same love to yourself that you will give to your child. I don't want that to marinate for a second. You'll put it all on the line. I read a post, the other day where, you'll die for your child, but you won't live for your child. And I want us to marinate on that for a minute. You'll die for your people, but you won't live for them. And here's how you can live for them: getting your health together, getting your mind together, getting your physical together. This is how you live for your people. You don't live for them by just going to work and breaking yourself down. That's not how you live for them. That's not the complete way of living for them, right? You have to also be there for them, be present for them. And presence require a mind state, a mental state that many of us are not stepping up to the plate with. Right? So we start looking at some of our cognitive decline, and we start looking at some of our mental health decline as far as the anxiety and the depressions and those things that keep tipping us over, that we start making some bad choices, some bad decisions. So how we can do better with that is, please get some professional help. Get some professional help. Self-help books are great. Looking at a whole bunch of videos of different things, like the Get Made podcast and all of that, those are good, but that's just a step in the direction. That's not the direction. Right? That's not the direction. So by all means, please get you some professional help. Now, lastly, and just as important, our social health. Putting ourselves with people who are trying to achieve the same goals that you are trying to achieve when it comes to your physical and mental health. That's either your spiritual health, that's your emotional health, or you putting yourself in alignment with these people, right? So you're not making these bad choices. You're not hanging out all night, you're not drinking, you're not smoking, you're not, having all this promiscuous behavior. You're not every time you turn around, you just smashing and dashing. You're too old for that in the first place. If you're still doing that at this age, then you something is really wrong with you. Really, you really need to go get you some professional help. If you are still trying to be the sexual problems cause more instances, some people start having, even men start having some sexual decline in this time. And then you start in this mindset that you still can do it, you still got it, right? You still think you can go 2, 3 times a day, 6, 7 days a week. You're fooling yourself. You're lying to yourself because you ain't lying to nobody else. If it's not about quality and it's still about quantity, something's wrong with you. And I'm just going to say that right out. Something's wrong with you. And somebody, you can't be telling me something wrong with me. Yeah, bro, something wrong with you. And we're going to have real conversations here. Something's wrong with you. And if you let a woman trick you into thinking that, she got to have it 2, 3 times a day, 4, 5 days a week, she lying to you too. God, there's some fringes, but everybody ain't in them fringes. We got other things to do than just sitting there and just trying to have sex all the time, right? And so, because there should be this thing about intimacy that goes beyond just sex, right? So if we talk about this socialization, you're trying to socialize yourself correctly, you're trying to have this social health correctly, you're participating probably in more meaningful things. You might be involved in your religious organization, you being Muslim, being a Christian, or whatever it is you got going on, right? You're practicing with people who are practicing. You're trying to put yourself in these spaces, right? You may have other organizations and clubs that you might be affiliated with, and they are trying to do good works in the community and things of that nature, right? You're socializing yourself properly. Everybody ain't got to be feeding the hungry, right? Feeding the homeless. Everybody may not be doing that, but you could be doing something other than just self-indulgence. You can be doing something other than self-indulgence. And this is, big brother talking to all his other brothers, right? We got to have this conversation, brothers. Men got to have this conversation. Some of my older brothers out here, some of my more older brothers and elder statesmen, some of my elders, not our olders, but our elders, we need to be reaching back and start having this conversation without judgment with some of our younger brothers. Some of our more youthful brothers. We need to be stepping back and pulling them up and reaching back to them, learning from them as we would like them to learn from us, learning how to do certain things, keeping the mind sharp. They can teach us a few things. Nah, OG, do it like this or something like that, right? Nah, Shake, do it like this and not like that, tapping into that as you allow them to tap into you. Nah, do it like this, right? That's what's up. That's us socializing. That's us getting to know one another a lot better. In some instances, we are getting to the age. At some point, I don't have to step aside and let some of our younger brothers come through and let them cut their teeth in this thing, right? I'm gonna have to be the old head that they may come to for some advice. I might be the one now in the background. I may not be the one in the forefront, because they're gonna have to cut their teeth in this thing, because we want to need them to kind of keep this thing powered forward. I can't be 80 trying to do this thing and run a thing. Y'all know what I'm talking about with the president up there. I can't be. I got to move out the side. I got to move up to the side and allow some of this young blood to come through and handle things. But then I can still be an advisor to them. I can be that ear. I can have an ear. I can talk to them. I can help them out, and they can seek my advice. If they don't need it, they don't get it. It's up on them. But at this point, I want to smell the roses. I done pushed the boulder up the hill. Time for me to let that boulder go and walk down the other side of this hill, man, and smell the roses, enjoy the view, looking at it. Park that boulder up there, man. I'm push that boulder. Park that boulder, man. Just walk down on the backside of this hill, man. Enjoy that view. It's a pretty view out there. It's lush green trees, birds chirping. You know what I mean? It's beautiful. And we need to be able to enjoy this. We should be dying still in a rat race. Shouldn't be dying in that. So I want to leave us with that. I appreciate you guys. Just recap. That's that physical, mental, and social health. We need to do something about it. So, brothers, get yourself checked out. Get yourself physically checked out. Get yourself mentally checked out. Get yourself in some social. Get some good friends, some close friends, and some close associates. And let's transition our lives into something a little different. We done made the money. We done ran people. We done told people what to do. We done bossed people around. We done raised kids. We got grandkids. Some of us even got great grandkids now. We've done it. We had that fight. Put your sword up. Put your shield up. And let's enjoy the rest of this life. Hey, I appreciate you guys listening to me today. Thank you for allowing me to share myself with you. Always, please subscribe to my YouTube channel at the Get Made Podcast. That's the Get M.A.D.E. podcast on YouTube. Of course, I'm here. You can check me out on Instagram at official Hassan Clay. And let's make this thing happen. All right.